Satan interviewing. You know that's what they doing. Stick around. It's about to get all roomy up in here. Remote Ruby starts now.
Good afternoon.
It feels like it to me. Sheesh.
Listen, I know you're a good soul. I'd probably do the same thing. But why did you agree to go to a meetup at 3 a.m. virtually? Did you
It's a
just
great
go
question.
to that user group in person?
No, I was at Sydney and Brisbane, or made it to Melbourne.
Well, now
I
you
wanted
have.
to, and they had asked me to come there too, but it was like too hard to get everywhere in the short period of time we had in Australia. So
Your world
were-
tour.
they were asking, and I was like, you know what? It'd be a cool thing to do. And then I did the time zone conversion. It was like, oh, I got to get up at 3 a.m.
This is going to hurt the tour. Y'all don't get that reference? Damn, that must have been my special place on Twitter when Justin Timberlake got arrested. And
It's going to ruin the world tour.
the cop didn't know who he was. He's like, this is going to ruin the tour. And the cop said, what tour? And he said, the world tour.
The cop was too young to know who Justin Timberlake was. I wouldn't know Justin Timberlake if I saw him on the side of the road. So
He is in Memphis. He's legend because he's from here. So it's like Elvis, Justin Timberlake, Yo Gotti.
Jason Charles.
Yo Gotti's from Memphis. Let's go.
Listen, I
No.
wasn't here last week. You talked about, I assume, HTML, sanitization, things like that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I have a
I
follow-up.
can tell you don't listen to our podcast.
It hadn't released yet. It's my excuse.
You've got the MP3.
Yeah, you've got
Chill.
Put it on your MP3 player.
Chill. Yeah, I loaded it on the
Walkman.
iPod.
Put it on your Zune and listen to
Oh my
it.
God.
burn it to his CD and iTunes and throw it on the Walkman.
My parents wanted to take a road trip to Vegas when I was 16. And I was like, what is wrong with you? It was the longest trip of my life. I look back on it with good memories. But while I was there, I bought the first iPod video.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that I have
You were
such
the cool
fond
kid.
memories of that thing. God, that thing ruled.
You were the kid we all wanted to be.
I was living large. Andrew might be too young for this. Do you remember when they had a PC and a Mac version of the iPod? You had to choose between which one.
I was definitely not young enough, but I don't remember that because I didn't have a Mac.
So
I never
you
had
were
access
young
to
enough.
Mac computers.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Holy hell. Before that, we talked about text editors like a few weeks earlier. I have an update. I bought Redactor, the newest version. I don't know. I've been buying text editors for years. Bought the newest version of Redactor. It rules. It is so good. And
Can you redact text? Because if you can't,
you can't, but I could make a plugin for it.
False
It's got a-
advertising.
It's got a plugin API. I couldn't even fathom Trix having. That's one of the common things that's hard, right? It's like people want to add tables, stuff like that. Nah,
You get
this is
the
good.
email stuff with it now too. It looks like
It's
looks
an
like they
add-on.
updated their website. Oh, really? Because it,
Yeah,
of course.
it's a separate add-on. Yeah, so it can handle like being an email editor. I didn't get that because we don't let you customize email in Jobboardly. But what it
Not
did allow
yet.
me to do is on the homepage of job boards, it used to just be like at the top is a text section you can edit, then a hard-coded email capture, and then the hard-coded like job posts. What I did was I made a custom plugin. So I have a block. It's just job post when you're editing in the text editor. You can't do anything with it, but you can move it around. And you can have one for email capture and you can move that around. So now like the whole page is customizable. And then when I go to render it, I just do substitutions on that data block, job post, data block, email capture, render the HTML from Rails. God, it's awesome. It's so awesome.
What's it take to do a plugin?
Depending on how complex it is, 20 lines of JavaScript. It's not bad. They have an
Nice.
API system you just look into.
And it looks like tons of examples.
Tons of examples. It honestly felt a little bit at times, just because it's a text editor, I guess. Like when I was sketching out the TipTap editor at Podia, but it's way more complete than TipTap because TipTap's just like a bunch of building blocks, and this is like a full experience. It's great. God, it's good.
It stores this as JSON or HTML?
You can do either because I was migrating away from action text. I just kept it as HTML.
Pretty slick.
Yeah. I use the HTML pipeline, Jim, to do substitutions and stuff. So like that's how I do my variable support. So like working with HTML isn't as bad as I anticipated because I didn't realize there's a lot of really good tools out there already in Ruby.
Right.
Rock on.
Nice, dude. This is solid. It looks like, what is this? Email plugin and redactor only. Did you get the AI plugin?
I did not know because
What even is that?
no, but I have been trying to fine tune my own Flux models. I'm like 17 years behind the curve, but I'm all of a sudden really interested in AI.
That'll be a nice improvement for Jobboardly. I feel like that is, again, one of the like pain points of Rails that I know that people who wrote it aren't there anymore, and it just sits a bit more than it should. It's such a key piece of most applications, being able to write rich text.
I imagine this falls under a lot of other things, though, where I imagine at 37 Signals, they're still happy with it. It still probably does what they want it to do.
Doesn't do what I want it to do.
But that's the thing, right?
It doesn't do Markdown, which is how
Don't piss me off, Chris.
will drop soon.
It's not even 7 a.m., dude. Please.
Hey, I've been up for
He's got you on this one.
I know you.
6 hours.
First time ever. You've got me.
Got him.
Where were you when you texted me 2.5 hours ago?
On the road.
In that t-shirt?
No.
Whew, thank God.
No, not in this t-shirt.
I don't care about your personal life. I just want to make sure you weren't wearing that.
No, don't worry. I was freshed up. It's cool. Swagged out. You get it? I sent you a picture of a Popeyes I was passing.
What else is there to talk about, gentlemen? Chris, what was your talk on?
Rails plugins, engines, rail ties, the usual.
Just repeating yourself.
Yeah.
Hey, he's recycling.
He didn't want to prepare a brand new talk to give at 3 a.m.
Fair
Not
enough.
really.
Yawn in my
I
ear.
could use a nap.
Nah, you got to power through. If you take a nap, it's going to screw everything up. Trust me. I'm becoming an expert on this.
That's fine. I'm doing it.
He's going to adjust to Australian time. And
dude, I mean, I lived on East Coast time, so
same thing.
Yeah, I live on Central time.
I'm very aware. That's why you scheduled our podcast at 6:45 in the morning.
I did that because you bragged
do
about
that for
getting up
your
at 5
sake.
a.m.
I know. It's okay. As long as I don't ever slip up and oversleep.
You're real Drew. You just brag about it all the time.
Got him.
He's going to send me an eye roll emoji when he listens to this. He hates those jokes.
That was really good, Jason. I really like that.
I'm glad.
Whew. That felt good.
Is there any exciting new tools, technologies in Rails, Ruby that have been released since we've talked last?
Nope.
Dude, I've been busy working, dude. I don't know.
Oh, Here we go.
All right, here. Now we're going to have it out real quick. Wait, Chris, let me ask you this. Let's say that you and I are working together, right? And I'm killing it. Wouldn't you be happy for me? Or would you
Answer
join,
honestly, Chris. Hold on.
or would you join every single meeting and let them know that you don't approve?
Oh, geez.
Man,
I would be proud of you.
Thanks, Chris.
Shut up, Chris. Get the hell out of here. There's this episode of The Office where Michael talks about how lovely I think it's Pam is. He's like, but I could never say that to her face. And he was like, why wouldn't you say that to your face? And that's how it is with me and you. I talk so good about you behind your back.
That's all I care about.
And so awful to you in person.
I got a message from our CTO yesterday. It says, at Jason, I told Andrew you weren't coming because you couldn't stand to see him be right all the time. He's been doing this long enough that other people are in on the joke. Hey, dude, I can't help it.
So you've been so busy working. There's nothing that's caught your eye in the last couple of weeks. Nothing's excited you. You haven't started anything on GitHub because you're always storing dot files and Obsidian setups.
Are you watching what I'm starring on GitHub?
I follow you. I follow 5 people. And so
does it tell you what time I started them at?
Sometimes.
Okay, cool. Well, I started switching over to Mize, which we talked about the other week. I switched everything over except I think I'm still running ASDF's Postgres because I need to like back up my database and I'm just like, details and I'm in the middle of something. So I'm still running the Postgres version from ASDF, but I have it all ready to go. I just need to migrate the databases over.
Dude, real quick, Postgres, ASDF, and now I guess if I switch to Mize was the game changer for me. Switching between Postgres versions, it was so hard.
Yeah.
If not impossible before.
I have like some shell scripts that I use to like switch versions and it's very sweet.
Game changer. Continue.
Yeah. So I started doing that and that worked out well, even though I started it at night and then got bored and went to bed and then the next morning had to finish it. So it was kind of playing with fire there, but I assumed I could just like toggle something in my dot files to switch back over to ASDF if I needed to, because I didn't uninstall it yet. And then there's a new window manager I was looking into, but I haven't installed it. It's just sitting in my reminders. It's called Aerospace. And I started installing door sensors in my house, smart door sensors.
Why?
Because I have this weird thing inside of me that tells me I'm going to like build spreadsheets that show when I come and leave my house. But what's the point of doing that? I don't know.
So, okay, this is what I thought. I thought there was no way you were doing it for security.
I leave my door unlocked half the time.
Correct.
So why do you want to track when you...
Exactly.
No. Not exactly. Why?
No.
What?
Exactly. There is no why. There's just do. There's just like shiny thing. I should do this. I'm scrolling on Amazon. I found a door sensor. Oh, I wonder if it works with HomeKit. Bought it. Didn't look at it. Also had to have a hub sensor thing. Had to buy a USB stick. Oh, well, now I should buy like a cable organizer because maybe I'll like clean my office. Like, what the hell?
Oh, man. ADHD.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm having all of these thoughts while swimming in the community pool, which is something I've been doing every day now.
I'm really confused though, because I thought you've been so busy working.
So yesterday I had a meeting that you didn't bother showing up for, even though you said you would, which was fine, by the way. That's cool. But
I didn't be there.
Understandable. So that meeting was at 9:30. And so at 9:15, I jumped in the pool.
Okay.
I can do a lot with a little, but at the same time, I can do a little with a lot. So I'm perfectly capable of going to the pool, getting in, swimming around, getting out, hopping in the shower, coming back here, getting dressed, and being on time for a meeting in under 15 minutes. But if you ask me to review a PR in 3 hours, you got to roll the dice there. Actually, here's a question for y'all. So how much is too much to cache? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Is the question, should cache rule everything around you or
Yes.
almost everything?
Cache does rule everything around me. That is true. But I'm saying like in terms of like bytes, like how much is too much to put in the cache? Does it just depend on like what you're using for caching?
It's a good question.
Cool.
Well, here's the reason in this particular case. When I talked to Jamie, he wasn't gung-ho about this, is because he's not sure how long the cache will live. He's pretty sure this one will...
The keys will get evicted.
Yeah, pretty quickly.
That makes sense then, that it's not really worth. The whole point of the cache is like, ideally it's lives forever kind of thing.
I've got this problem, we'll call it, in Jobboardly where people want RSS feeds. So I have an
what
RSS
is this,
feed.
the 90s?
I know something about that.
But I have some people that have like 5,000 jobs on their job boards. And in these RSS feeds, they want the job description in there. So like we're talking, yeah.
Payload.
I can't remember. Is there any sort of pagination functionality for feeds?
There is, but it's not a standard, I don't think.
It's not a standard, and I don't think it's widely accepted. Like
No,
when
I
you
don't
Google
think-
it, it's
yeah.
just like
It exists,
Okay.
but it's not.
if I
It's
put
not
it
something
in,
people implement, I don't think.
the average
Gotcha.
person grabbing the RSS feed would be like, why am I missing 4,975 jobs? It's like, well, you just got to go to page 2.
It's kind of crazy to think about where it's like, did they really imagine that I don't know, you run a news site and it's just, we're going to put every single article in here ever? Maybe they
Yeah,
assume
that's-
that you only return the last 100,000.
I would argue that for your main RSS feed, like if you have a blog, for instance, there's no reason to have 3,000 articles extending back into your archive of posts. People subscribing to the RSS feed are subscribing to get updates. They're not subscribing to see the historical archive unless they're trying to do something with the data, in which case, then maybe you can offer a different way for them to get that data. But in my opinion, you shouldn't need to allow hundreds and thousands of entries in an RSS because that's just going to bring down your server.
And then is it sort of maybe up to the client just to cache some of the old
I
responses?
think that's
then?
it.
So,
Because there's a GID or GUID key that's in the standard.
G-Unit.
A G-Unit
ID.
key that's in the standard.
yes.
And I think the idea is that you should download, store that, and then it helps you know not to like consider a duplicate. Is the whole point
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also
Let's just say I learned that a really
So I
hard
guess
way.
sort of the built-in pagination is basically the amount of polling you do. It's
Yeah,
on your
basically.
end to like save stuff.
until the connection drops.
what I do
Yeah.
right now, which is lipstick on a pig, I guess. I have Russian doll caching on the feed. And then I just use Cloudflare to cache every RSS endpoint. And so, like, that first load still can take a long time, but any subsequent one is fine because it's served by Cloudflare. But it's still a massive document. It's huge.
Yeah. And what we were specifically talking about, the whole point of me trying to do this caching thing was to make the first load. Because I built like a background job. When these objects were saved, it would automatically generate the feed in a background job and save the entire feed to the cache. Which as soon as I finished, I took a step back from it. I was like, wait, this feels like a lot to be saving in the cache.
So your approach is correct because that's what we did. We pre-render our React code to serve to Google, and we do that in a background job. What we do though is we store that in Cloudflare's R2, which is
Okay.
like their S3 store, and then we have a worker that sits in front of the app. And if it like matches that request and it exists in R2, it'll serve that. For your situation, that's probably what we'll have to do. And that's why Jamie was like,
Nah. I talked to him a bit about it yesterday. And I told you the same thing. I was like, I don't care. I learned a lot making that PR. I don't care what happens to it. I gave them
And
a
I guess
solution.
if you're Russian doll caching, it's mostly the like new entry and the parent
Yeah.
that has to get regenerated, which isn't as bad as having to regenerate the whole thing every time. Then it would be pretty much useless.
yeah, it's still slow, like in job orderly.
Sure.
Because ones that have like 5,000 jobs, it still loop through all those. And like, don't
It's a
necessarily
big
have
Yeah.
payload
examples.
too.
And
Like, it's like
The
a
biggest
it could be-
problem.
I looked at one that was like over 25 megs, I think.
like your average JavaScript front end.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why Cloudflare was invented, right?
Yeah.
To
Basically.
cache single page apps.
I like that of using R2 and the worker for serving stuff up before it proxies to your app or whatever. Like that's a pretty cool way of doing it. I like it.
The end goal is to pull it off for all of our like storefronts on Podia. So we like server side render it, then React would like rehydrate it because we already have it built to where like you can cache a version of it, like an unlogged in version, and then it'll know how to like when it loads, then rehydrate like with the logged in user. But the problem that stopped the whole thing is that it doesn't rehydrate properly because of the way we use hooks in React. And we have to rewrite a ton of our like storefront code. So at that point, all that work was like for nothing, because even though it's rendering the HTML, it's re-rendering with React every single page section. And if it's doing that, why don't we just render it right now where it renders every single page section?
Can we make a hydration related library called Brondo? It's what HTML craves.
Don't get it.
You haven't seen Idiocracy?
No.
No, that's just my
Oh my
life, dude.
God. I'm going to hang up. I'm done with you guys. You
Well,
have to watch Idiocracy.
I was
All right.
done the second
Welcome to
you sucked
Costco.
up to Andrew.
I love you.
Love you too.
You guys don't have a law degree from Costco?
Yeah, I got a law degree, but it's not from Costco.
Come on.
I have a ministry
Shame on you
degree
guys.
from the Universal. It's not a degree; it's a certificate.
Can you marry people?
Mm.
I've done it twice. That's the reason I have it.
Shoot. I've
You
always
can
wanted to do
call
that. I heard you can do that on the internet.
You can. So I did it. You can call me Reverend Jason Charnes.
All right, Reverend. I got some confessions to make.
And so far, both people I'm married are still married. So got a
Nice.
pretty good track
Good
record.
track record. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll be hitting you up, save some money.
Until now, observability was metrics, logs, and traces. It was reliability budgets, error rates, and latencies. It was big acronyms on a central dashboard. In short, it was what the ops team cared about, not the developers. But Honeybadger is changing that. Of course, you need the big picture, the single pane of glass that lets you know what your system is doing and that it's operating normally. But individual users matter too. User experience is more than just a line on a dashboard. Honeybadger's observability platform lets you drill down into the details, into the individual user experiences that drive product development and your business forward. It helps you understand your product and your users as much as it does your systems and performance. Honeybadger's free developer plan includes error tracking, uptime monitoring, custom charts and dashboards, and 50 megabytes per day of structured event logging. To get started, visit honeybadger.io. That's www.honeybadger.io.
Back to sanity for a second. Your files in R2, do you have to like manually expire them or set up like a delete after 30 days kind of rule or anything like that? For
C3PO keeps it running.
Yeah, we mostly D2 it. It basically just lives forever. When someone publishes like a change, we just send it through the pipeline and we're
Override.
rendering it. Yeah, just replace
Yeah.
it. We did look at doing something like that. I think maybe we considered using an e-tag for that. And like if it's expired and it's not in the cache, phoning back home, like going back to do that, but
Does
DT.
Rails make an E tag by default?
not by
No.
default.
you have to
You have to use fresh
say,
one.
yeah.
I was looking at a response the other day and I saw an E tag in it, but I didn't know where it came from.
Could be Cloudflare.
See, that's what I kind of figured, but I was like, I don't know. It was just kind of interesting. I was looking at it. One of them looked wrong, but then I was like, but there's an E tag, so shouldn't it be cached?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind
I
of
hate
weird.
programming,
I do too.
but I love it.
I guess you'll have the fun of like, if somebody closes their account, you got to go and spin up a job to go clear that out from R2
No.
so you're not storing it forever.
It's cheap. It's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally we should do that, but we did not do that.
Great idea. Let me
Yeah.
write that down.
Yeah. Hey, Jamie,
Yeah.
Chris had an idea. See ya.
I'll send my invoice.
Yeah, just send him this podcast episode and a bill. Tell me it's
It'll be
No.
as cheap as Jason's wedding officiation.
Jeez, don't bankrupt us.
Some of that stuff becomes like using Melee search or something, Elasticsearch or whatever. And it's like, well, when you want to run your test, then you load your fixtures and you better make sure that you like index everything in Elasticsearch so your tests can run correctly. And it is, yeah, panic attack over there.
Dude, you just gave me flashbacks. You just gave me flashbacks to running that .index command on like the biggest table in the database and having to freaking wait for it until you could do anything. Oh my God, that was annoying.
Yeah. It's one of those things now where I'm like, I think this is kind of the reason why everything in Rails is going to solid whatever. Because it's like the second you introduce one additional service, there's just so much additional complexity that you have to mess with. And that's why, like, we'll just throw it all in our database that we're already using, or like a separate SQLite database locally. Not a big deal. And it just keeps things way simpler, way simpler.
You know what scares me about this is that I feel like in all things programming, kind of in nature in general, but mostly in programming, there's like pendulum swifts, and it's like swings back to back. And so now we're like, oh, let's just put everything back in the database. And I'm like, how many years are we going to be back to microservices?
8.
Cool.
Next recession and next microservices.
So not 8.
Dude, right? Yeah.
So not 8.
Oh, sorry. I meant 8 months.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's why I've been burying gold under my house.
You and my grandfather.
Yeah, he's the one I got the idea from.
Because he was under your house for some reason. You're like,
Well,
oh, that's a good idea.
Watching
Might be where
Supernatural, I conjured him.
Might be where they buried him. No,
That's
he
why
died
he's
for it.
got those door security things.
Yeah.
Scary
ghosts.
ghosts. No, I learned this dude was a prepper. Not just that. I learned he had a ton of land in Mississippi. My dad's portion was left to him. We called it the farm. And so, like, they always had this building called the schoolhouse on the farm. And it wasn't until last year that I learned the schoolhouse was named that because that's where he trained other men to be preppers. He was like an OG conspiracy theorist.
Hey, man, there's nothing wrong with prepping. If I'd gone to school like 2 towns over, I would have been a prepper. It's crazy. Are you a prepper, Jason?
I probably will be.
You don't give me prepper vibes.
I have such bad anxiety. I don't know. I could see myself going that way.
You know what's been really grinding my gears lately?
Let's go.
Migrating records with JSON-B columns.
What are you doing?
So
Adding
you trying-
JSON-B columns, removing them?
both. There's a certain member of our team who like went a little
Let's go.
crazy with the store attributes.
But
Bet. Yeah, I will bet.
dude, say my name.
Jason Charnes got heavy-handed with the store attributes. I don't know if it was actually you.
Right. I don't know if you watch Breaking Bad.
I do. I did. Loved it. Great show. Movie, El Camino movie, good too. We store a lot of not random. They're very specific, but they also feel very random attributes in these JSON-B columns. And then we also have global objects and like more local objects to like certain things on the site editor. And it's like these values are stored across them. And sometimes they take precedence and sometimes they don't. And we are changing and adding some. And it's like, if I want to make a change in these JSON-B values, I have to write a maintenance task to migrate all of them. And it's for a lot of records. So it's not very performant. And I'm having to do it a ton. It's just really exhausting to have to do this.
Aw. So
Shut up.
how would you do the migrations if you were changing columns?
You know, as soon as you said that, I started to realize that's where you would go with this. Is changing JSON-B attributes is more annoying.
it's the
Especially
syntax.
if they're deeply it's the syntax. Especially if they're deeply nested, and then you have to remember like all this weird syntax to do it.
Yeah, deeply nested is frustrating and it is annoying because you have to write it all inside strings. There's no active record API for dealing with JSON-B.
Yes, if you want to just update like a single record, like, oh, I don't want everything to be broken. I just want this one to work right now. Then I have to do it for the single record. And if I want to do it for something in production, I have to then take all of that and then do it there. Or if I don't want to run the maintenance task.
And if you want to remove a key value from JSON-B, you have to basically use a Postgres function to like rebuild the structure, or like you can
use a
some
key
kind of-
thing.
yeah, to like pull it out, but none of it feels intuitive, right?
That's what I think I meant. It's like the cognitive complexity of writing all these tasks is high. And it's like, I
I'll give you
spend all
that.
this time writing the feature. I'm like, I think this should work, but I can't tell yet because I have to change these JSON. I have to write these maintenance tasks, and then I have to write tests for the maintenance tasks, and I have to it's just a lot.
Yeah.
This is one of the fundamental problems with using JSONB is how easy it is to add things to it.
Yes.
So over the years, it's ballooned quite a bit. Now it is difficult. So no, I empathize with that.
I don't think there's a problem with JSON being as at first I didn't like it. I understand now. Once I've been working a lot more with it, I'm like, all right, I understand that this is a good solution for this type of data we're storing.
Not all of it, but most of it.
Not all of it, but the fact that it is JSON and that you can stick anything in there.
For Postgres 18, maybe we can introduce the JSON C type that is named after JSON.
That's JSON with comments, right?
There you go.
That is what JSON C is, right?
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I was just making
No, that's an actual
Making
file
a-
type.
a name that we could have named after our co-host here,
No,
JSON's Sharns.
you can add comments into your VS Code settings files and stuff like that. That's because they're JSON C files. I think to cap this all off with, I'm just complaining, but there is a pain there. I feel like there's also different syntaxes you can use to do this kind of stuff.
There's
It's
not a standard one.
Yeah.
The syntax is also the SQL syntax is really confusing.
And
I was
sometimes
going
you
to
have
say doing pay and using JSON columns for the paddle update URL, which I only need for paddle users. Yeah. JSON B and running that across, let's see. I don't think we have MariaDB at all, but we have Postgres, SQLite, and MySQL, and every single one of them. Different syntax, just works differently. And I wish there was a official SQL standard for that, because man, or if Active Record had some basics in there that could just, AREL has some cool stuff. I know you're not supposed to use AREL. That's a private interface. But if there was a JSON B or JSON selector thing that we could do, that would be great. Because there are the weird things of find me the value at this nested key, but there's also the return the whole object and then compare that and stuff that sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Or it's does this key's value contain this object or something?
yes.
And there could be other things in there, but does it contain this subset? And it's oh God, so much more complexity.
And it can be used for JSONB can be used for arrays.
Oh, right. Yeah. Somewhere recently, I saw that and somebody was like, I didn't know you could even do an array with JSON. It's that's valid JSON. It could be an object or an array.
Yeah.
Or I guess maybe even string, just a plain value.
And based on which syntax you use, whether you use a single greater than sign or two greater than signs when referencing, one will pull out a string version, one will pull out the object. And then if you want to do any type of comparisons, you typically need to cast it once you pull it out. And so, yeah, it definitely comes with trade-offs. But for standing stuff up, getting started, it's really good.
That's why we all moved to Mongo. It's just one big JSON column.
Listen, the popular tweet structure right now is nobody's going to remember how many hours you worked. They're going to remember, and then it's just a bunch of
Yep.
supposed to be funny. Mongo tweeted one, and it was people will only remember Mongo scaled for the web. And I was get out of here. How are you still tweeting in 2024?
It's not a funny one. That's just them trying to use it for marketing. I saw a DigitalOcean one that was nobody will remember you for these things, but they will remember you for your AWS bill costs.
I saw that. That was good.
And I was that's a good one. That's a fun play. But if it's
Andrew.
oh, we'll remember you because you used our product, not so funny.
Andrew's a big Mongo stan.
Yeah, the hugest.
Well, it's hard to tell because sometimes you get on these soapboxes and you're being sarcastic, and sometimes you're not. And it's hard to balance those.
I've used Mongo in college. I didn't really understand it then.
I have a feeling that
policy.
every pull request from you, Andrew, is going to include, could we just add MongoDB now for this? It'll be like some CSS
Mongo
thing. Like,
bot.
but we could store the CSS variables in Mongo.
I mean, I've had worse ideas.
Why do we even have SAS? We have Mongo.
Did
Yeah.
not have SAS.
Oh, here's an idea. We got the new solid cache, solid queue. We're gonna end up with Mongo cache, Mongo queue, you name it.
Oh, that's
Mongo record.
That's how I'm gonna get famous.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm about to go make a name for myself.
Already did that, my friend.
I'm gonna be the Mongo guy.
That's what you want to go down in history as.
Yeah, I'd rather. It's better than the alternatives.
It all starts with a MongoDB tattoo. So
Where?
at Rails
Tramp stamp?
World. Yeah.
All right.
We'll do that at Rails World. Wow. Can you guys believe that it's what, a month and a week away or whatever till Rails World?
I guess I should get plane tickets and a hotel.
The closest hotel I know was sold out a while ago.
Details,
If I
my
remember
friend.
right.
I've got
So-
stokes in the fire.
So if you want to bring your tent,
I got a Bippy bag now.
A blippy bag?
A Bippy bag. If you're a hiker, you'll know what I'm talking about. But
I'm
I'm talking to the people
fan.
listening. The Bippy bags. I'm all about the Bippy bag life. No more tents. Tents are way too heavy.
explain to us what a Bippy bag
Okay,
is.
I'm gonna try, but it's kind of difficult for me because I've tried to explain.
kind
it
of
before.
use MongoDB as a parallel.
Okay.
We'll understand
So-
that.
So let's say that on one end of your schema, you have no space. And then the other end of the schema, you take a single pole and like stake it down into an arch above where your head would be. Right. And then it's just a bag on the ground.
I've left this analogy. Not only do I not understand what you're talking about, but I understand Mongo even less than I did before we started.
A Bippy bag is, you could think of it like a sleeping bag that you take a pole and make an arch where your head will be, and then it kind of like connects all the way down. So it's almost like a mosquito netting in a way, but it's like there's not a lot of space. It's just like an easy way to like stay out of the elements and not have to carry something heavy around. Bippy bag. Glad we did this, guys. Y'all have ruined my morning.
I'm
yeah,
about to go to
cool.
bed. So
I'm not going to be able to work for like 30 minutes after this because I'm going to
Oh,
be
no.
too wiped up.
Oh, 30 minutes.
Oh, yikes. Tell Jamie.
That's
take it
enough
out of your
time to
check.
go to the pool twice and shower and
Maybe we should do that.
All that.
Hey,
Install
free
door
shower.
sensors.
And this, we're done. We're done. Cut it off.